We all love scrolling through perfectly curated homes. You know the ones. Sunlight streaming through luxurious curtains, beautifully decorated kitchens, spa-like bathrooms. It's easy to fall for those beautiful spaces and think that they will work just as well in our real everyday life. But the truth is, some design trends look amazing online, but are totally impractical once you start living with them. Today, I'm diving into 10 design trends that might not be worth the investment. Oh, and I'm not just here to rant. I'll also talk about some alternatives that I would consider if I were drawn to any of these trends. Alright, let's get into it. First up, we have vessel sinks. Vessel sinks are often seen as the jewelry of a modern bathroom. They come in artistic shapes, materials like stone or ceramic, and they sit above the counter for a sculptural, high-end look. But as pretty as this may be, they are not that easy to maintain. This little area, like around the base of the sink, becomes a grime trap. Over time, I can see it collecting toothpaste, soap residue, and just imagine you trying to clean all of this like once a week. That looks like trouble to me. On top of that, vessel sinks tend to sit higher than built-in sinks, which might not seem like a big deal until you realize it's uncomfortable to use for kids or someone that's not that tall. And if your vanity wasn't designed with the height in mind, you may end up hunched over or bumping your hands against the edges. They're beautiful, yes, but beauty alone doesn't get the job done when you have to use your sink like 5-6 times a day. That being said, I can definitely see the appeal here. So what I would do if I was thinking about choosing a similar model is I would try to choose a model that is more square than round, so we avoid like those weird angles at the base of the vessel. Also, I would prefer to install it in a way that there is no gap between the sink and the wall. For the same reason, like I can imagine how hard it is to reach this little gap that stands between the sink and the wall, so I would prefer to install it right against the wall. We can still find beautiful sinks that have that sculptural look without compromising too much on functionality. Next up, we have stairs with no railings. Now let's talk about this, because yes, they look super sleek in photos, but they're one of those trends that just don't work in real life. The idea behind this look is minimalism to the extreme. No handrails, just clean, floating steps that appear to hover in midair. It's undeniably dramatic, and in a perfectly styled editorial shoot or a modern architecture showroom, it can seem like the ultimate design flex. But the moment you start thinking about using these kinds of stairs, like in day-to-day life, especially with kids, pets, guests, or anyone basically, it becomes a completely different story. But beyond just personal preference, there is also the issue of building codes and safety regulations. In most countries, including the US and Canada, stairs without any kind of handrail are not up to code. And these rules exist for a reason. Even in the safest homes, accidents still happen. And even if you somehow manage to bypass codes, say you're doing a DIY renovation that doesn't require inspection, you still might run into serious issues later. Think about resale value. Many potential home buyers may just walk away from a house that is not up to code or that has safety issues. There's also the psychological side of things. Even for physically able adults, using a stair with no handrails can be really nerve-wracking. You might find yourself unconsciously clinging to the wall or tiptoeing down the stairs with extra caution, more caution than usual. And that kind of tension goes against the idea that your home should be a place where you feel comfortable and safe. So while I totally get the appeal, minimalist lines, architectural drama, the openness, it's just one of those design trends that prioritizes aesthetics in detriment of safety and practicality. A better approach is to find a railing solution that still feels minimal and modern, but doesn't compromise on safety. For instance, you can go for glass handrails. It's clear, it's open, it still lets light pass through, and you don't compromise on safety. I also love this solution here. I think it's beautifully integrated with the rest of the house, like the architectural style. It's not like a regular handrail if you want something more bold and more dramatic. I love this solution here. Now, you know something that is safe, will never go out of style, and also has the power to make any space feel more inviting and more lively: plants. I have always wanted to have a home full of plants, but I just can't seem to keep them alive. Except for those beginner-friendly ones that just will survive no matter what. But this year I wanted to change that. And the sponsor of today's video, Skillshare, has been my ally in this journey. Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives. It has so many cool classes related to design, DIY, and home decor, including this one that I just finished taking, and it gave me the motivation, confidence, and knowledge to start adding more plants to my home. Finally, I highly recommend it. With thousands of created classes in countless categories, ranging from beginner to advanced, on Skillshare you will find valuable insights and develop new skills, with categories that include illustration, design, animation, film, photography, you name it. So if that sounds exciting to you, make sure to check the link in the description, because the first 500 people to use it will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. So get started today. That's a whole month where you can dive deeper into your passion, develop a new hobby, or even start building a new daily habit like drawing, painting, or learning how to unleash your creative side altogether. So thank you Skillshare for sponsoring this video, and thank you guys for checking them out. It really helps support the channel and my work. Alright, next up we have textured finishes in kitchens and bathrooms. Rough stone tiles, raw brick walls, pebble textures on the floor. These elements look like they belong in a luxury spa or design magazine. And yes, they can add a lot of visual interest to sterile spaces like kitchens and bathrooms. Take a look at this beautiful kitchen here. It has a mixture of modern elements and more traditional ones, and I think one of the main contrasting elements here is this stone wall. It looks absolutely gorgeous. Or this bathroom here with those pebbles on the floor. I love the visual interest with the varying colors and different textures. I think it makes the bathroom look way more natural, like you're a part of nature or something like that. And it is something that we might find in like a spa. I understand the appeal. But here's the problem. Texture is a magnet for grime. In kitchens, airborne grease settles in every crevice. In bathrooms, moisture and dust creates the perfect conditions for mildew to grow in all those tiny nooks. So even regular cleaning becomes a hassle. Your regular sponge or wipe just doesn't cut it. So although I absolutely agree that they look stunning, they are just not practical. What I would do if I wanted to incorporate more texture into a kitchen or a bathroom is I would try to do that using other elements that doesn't require maintenance or cleaning altogether, like plants, for instance. But you could also go with smoother alternatives for the floor and wall finishes. For instance, I love the effect of these uneven tiles for a backsplash. They are not as textured as exposed brick or rough stone, but they still add a lot of visual interest, and you don't have the trouble to keep them clean. In a bathroom, you could go for something like this. It still has visual interest, it almost mimics pebbles and little stones, but the tile is smooth, so it's not at all hard to clean. Okay, moving on. Next, we have puddled curtains. Now, I know that 99% of the design content creators here on this platform probably already talked about how important it is that your curtains go from floor to ceiling and they are wider than your windows. It creates the illusion of height and it makes a room look better overall. But when it comes to curtains, there are usually 3 length options. One that sits a few inches above the floor, one that's slightly longer, barely touching the floor, and the one where the curtains are actually longer than the height of the wall or the distance between the floor and the rod. You've probably seen this look. Long, flowing curtains that gather dramatically on the floor. Designers love this puddled look for its softness and romantic feel. But if you live in a home with pets, dust, or daily foot traffic, like pretty much everyone, those curtain puddles become a magnet for hair, dust, and allergens. So you'll probably need to wash them or vacuum them pretty regularly. I think they are most popular in those luxurious interiors for a reason. People who can afford to live in a place like that can also afford to pay someone to clean their house for them. So if you love the look of long curtains, the better option is to let them barely kiss the floor. It's still dramatic, but way more practical. It's the one I would choose, personally. Next, we have shag rugs. Now, there's no denying the cozy factor of a shag rug. The soft texture feels amazing underfoot, and it adds instant warmth to a space. Just look at this cozy living room. Can you imagine how comfortable it must be to walk into your place and just step into cloud-like material in your own living room? The rug is one of the main elements that add visual interest to this room, because it's high pile, and so it brings a lot of texture to this space. But once on the floor, reality kicks in. Shag rugs are extremely difficult to clean. The long fibers trap dirt, crumbs, and pet hair, making vacuuming almost pointless unless you use special attachments or a very strong suction. Now, I can get behind the choice of a shag rug for a very low traffic area of the house, like a cozy nook or a reading corner, for example. And I have definitely fallen for this trap before. Just look at this poor rug, all smashed and sad beneath my home office chair. So, if you want softness underfoot, consider a lower pile option. There are plenty of great alternatives that are still super soft and feels amazing underfoot, but with much easier upkeep. And of course, for high traffic areas of the house, like an entryway, a hallway, or a kitchen, low pile rugs are the best alternative. Okay, next on the list we have accent walls. Now, accent walls are made to draw attention to a specific area of the room and make the space feel more dramatic overall. And when done right, they can do just that. I'm not a hater of accent walls, but accent walls can too often feel like an afterthought. A bright color or bold wallpaper slapped on a random wall with no connection to the rest of the room. Instead of enhancing the room, they just make it look disjointed and incomplete. To make an accent wall truly work, it has to be anchored by purpose. Furniture, artwork, or lighting that frames it and makes it the clear focal point. Otherwise, it ends up being a bright rectangle that just doesn't belong. Take this bedroom, for example, and this is a common use for an accent wall. When you paint or you use a texture only on the wall that sits right behind the bed, for example, I think this works super well. Or in this corridor here, for example, where they painted and added texture to just one single wall, which is the wall that you look at when you're walking in this direction. In this living room, it also works very well because they not only used like this wooden panel, but they also added like this huge, super interesting artwork. We can truly say that this is the focal point of this living room. So instead of just painting one single random wall in your space, think about how it can truly be the focal point of the room. Or choose walls that are naturally focal points, like a wall that's behind a bed, a TV wall, or a fireplace wall, for example. Alright, next we have open shelving in the kitchen. Now this is another one for those who don't love cleaning. Open shelving looks great in a staged home or a showroom kitchen. It's light, it's airy, and it gives you a chance to show off your best dishes or decor. But in reality, most of us don't have the time or the energy to keep styling those shelves, and everyday items look messy fast. Add dust and kitchen grease to the mix, and you have a constant battle to keep them looking clean. So if you're not super tidy or don't love cleaning, you'll probably regret swapping out your upper cabinets by open shelving. A more balanced approach would be to use open shelves more sparingly, for a few key pieces you use daily or even for a very intentional decor corner, while keeping most of your storage behind closed doors. But even so, you probably have to clean all those items on display quite regularly, but I guess we can't have it all, right? Next on my list, we have freestanding bathtubs. To me, freestanding bathtubs are a statement of bathroom elegance. They look sculptural and expensive, like something out of a high-end hotel suite. Besides, if a bathroom is large enough to even fit a freestanding tub, this is enough a definition of luxury for me. But not every slightly larger bathroom needs a freestanding tub, in my opinion. They are a great option for large bathrooms, where you can basically walk around the tub. But other than that, they are not the most practical choice, like if they're placed close to walls or tucked into tight spots. Cleaning around and behind them, awkward at best. Imagine trying to reach all those little corners in a space like this. I think this is similar to the vessel sink argument, but in larger scale. So if you've got the space, go for it. Or maybe you love it so much that you're willing to compromise on the extra effort you have to put in cleaning. But if my bathroom was on the smaller side and it could still fit a freestanding tub, I would still prefer a shower or a built-in tub. And you could still make it beautiful and interesting without the freestanding tub. Okay, so the last two items on my list are not exactly trends in the aesthetic sense, but I see them so much, and I think there are so many better alternatives that I had to include them. First, excessive spotlights or recessed lighting. Now, I talk about lighting a lot on this channel, and for good reason. Lighting is one of the most important factors in interior design, and it can make or break a room. So let's talk about it a little bit more. Recessed lighting is everywhere these days. It's clean, it's subtle, and it does a great job of providing general illumination. But look at this. Who needs so many lights? Jesus. I understand that some areas of the house need to be brighter, like a kitchen, for example. But I just don't see the point of having that many overhead lights in a living room, and even in kitchens. There has to be a limit, right? When a ceiling is overloaded with spotlights, the result is a space that feels sterile and cold, more hospital than home. All that overhead lights flattens out the space. It creates harsh shadows and very little mood. So lighting should be layered. Instead of relying solely on overhead lights, add in floor lamps, wall sconces, and pendant lights to create warmth and atmosphere. And if you still want to add overhead lights to a living room or a place that needs less illumination than a kitchen or a bathroom, for example, I like spotlights, ceiling spotlights as an alternative, because they create this uneven illumination, which creates a much more intimate mood than the uniform illumination generated by regular recessed lights. Okay, final item on the list, and this one just kills me. It's another thing that appears way too often, even though I don't consider it to be a trend per se. Vertical blinds. You know the ones. White plastic strips that clang together every time you open a door or a window. They break easily, they never hang quite right, and they give any space that unmistakable corporate office vibe. If you're trying to make your home feel more warm and inviting, vertical blinds are working against you. Honestly, I don't even know why people choose this kind of window covering. If you know, please tell me in the comments, because this really is a mystery to me, considering there are so many better alternatives. And I'm not even talking about curtains. Many people don't like how curtains tend to accumulate dust, or just don't like the look overall, prefer a cleaner look. But even so, there are roller shades, Roman blinds, which offer cleaner lines and a more residential feel. And you don't have to spend a fortune either. There are many budget-friendly options that will look infinitely better than vertical blinds. Now, I will have to deal with this nemesis of mine in my next house. I'm moving in the next couple of days. It's a rental, so I can't just remove it and get rid of it. But one of the first things that I want to do is to at least cover it with curtains, so I never have to look at those ever again until I have to leave the unit. And that's it. That's the end of my list. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel to see more home decor related content. This is the last video I'm recording in my apartment. In the next one, I will already be in my new house, so I'm excited for that. Don't forget to check out Skillshare using the link in the description. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.